Good morning, Saturday School.
Good morning.
Okay, this morning we're going to be looking at the title, The Wisest Man That Ever Lived, and that's King Solomon. And we're going to be reading some text. So 1 King chapter 3 to 9. So Solomon showed his love for the Lord by walking according to the instructions given him by his father David, except that he offered sacrifices and burned incense on the high places. The king went to Gibeon to offer sacrifices, for that was the most important high place. And Solomon offered 1,000 burnt offerings on that altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon during the night in a dream. And God said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon answered, "You have shown great kindness to your servant, my father David, because he was faithful to you and righteous and upright in heart. You have continued this great kindness to him and have given him a son to sit on his throne this very day. Now, Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, but I am only a little child and do not know how to carry out my duties. Your servant is here among the people you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to count or number. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" And the Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for this. So God said to him, "Since you have asked for this, and not for long life and wealth for yourself, nor have asked for the death of your enemies, but for discernment in administering justice, I will do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there be ever be. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor, so that in your lifetime you will have no equal among kings. And if you walk in obedience to me and keep my decrees and commands, as David your father did, I will give you a long life." Then Solomon awoke and realized it had been a dream. He returned to Jerusalem, stood before the ark of the Lord's covenant, and sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then he gave a feast for all his court. So 1 Kings 4:29 to 34. God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East, and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. He was wiser than anyone else, including Ethan the Israelite, wiser than Heman, Calcol, and Dada, the sons of Mahol. His fame spread to all the surrounding nations. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. He spoke about plant life, from the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of walls. He also spoke about animals and birds, reptiles and fish. From all nations, people came to listen to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. So we're going to watch a video quickly, and if you're watching this online, click on the description below.
And you can watch too.
Right, so from the text that we've read, the video, we can see that God is all-knowing God, an all-wise God, and it's only a God that is all-knowing and all-wise that can actually give somebody wisdom. Okay, because God asked Solomon to ask for anything, right? right? And what did Solomon ask for?
He asked for wisdom.
He asked for wisdom. There are two requirements for us to have wisdom. Okay, there are two things that you need before you can have wisdom. Did you say knowledge? Very good, Max. It's very, very good. Knowledge and understanding. I'm going to explain a bit of that later on. Now, let's think about, God's creation. Let's think about the universe. Think about all the things that God created. We've gone through, the book of Genesis before, where we saw the creation, what God did in 6 days, and God rested on the seventh day. Do you think that for God to create everything that He's created, the universe, everything's still in place, right? Do you think that God is an intelligent God or not? Is God intelligent or not? Is God wise or not?
Why?
God is extremely intelligent. We cannot even think about how intelligent God is. For God to create the universe, to create the world, and He created them once, and everything is just working on their own from then onwards. Now we're talking about God's intelligence now. Okay, so for God to be able to create the universe, created everything, God must be extremely good in maths. God must be extremely good in science. God created you and I.
And art.
So God must be is the greatest artist ever. The greatest artist ever. Because you see nature, how beautiful nature is, and God created all of that, right? God must be, the very good in biology.
He's
to
the
create
best.
us
He's the best.
is the best ever, right? To create us and to create everything that, our organs, every single cells in our body.
We don't even know that He's making us.
Yeah. So the point is, God is very, very wise. And for you to be wise, like I said, the two requirements is you have to know something and you have to, understand that thing that you know. Okay? And God has all of this. So God is wisdom. God is knowledge. God is understanding. Wisdom, we see it in leadership and judgment. One of the stories in the 1 Kings chapter 3 that I didn't read that story to you guys, but I'll just narrate it. There were two women, right, that had children. One of them had a son each, and both of them, stayed in the same room. And in the night, one of the women, she slept on a baby, and the baby died. Right, so she woke up at the middle of the night, took a dead baby, took it to the other woman's bed, and put a dead baby beside the other woman, and she took the living child of that other woman and took it to herself. Right? So when they woke up, both of them woke up in the morning, the woman that had the living baby saw that a baby was dead, or the baby that was sleeping beside her was dead, and she realized that wasn't a baby. So she went and told the other woman that, you've got my baby, and that's my baby. So this other woman that, killed her baby said, no, this is my baby, that dead child is your baby. So both of them went to King Solomon to complain. And when Solomon listened to both of them, Solomon said, okay, both of you would not agree whose baby is the living child. So Solomon said, give me a sword and cut that living child, the living baby, cut him into two. So the woman that really, that had the living son said that no, because she didn't want her baby to die. So she told King Solomon, no, don't kill the baby, just give the living baby to that other woman. And what did Solomon do? Solomon realized that woman was actually telling the truth. And he asked them to give the living boy back to the woman, the original mother of that child. Okay, that was wisdom. Okay, because Solomon didn't want to kill the baby. He just wanted to see the reaction of the two women when it tried to kill the baby. He wanted to see their reaction, and the reaction gave him the answer that he was looking for, because the other woman that killed that child wanted them, wanted the king to cut the baby into two, the living child into two. So he realized that if you actually, if you would, want the baby the living child to die, then that's not your child. And the other woman that wanted the living child to live, but was willing to give up the child just for the sake of the child being alive, was the original mother. So that was wisdom. It's, wisdom in leadership and in judgment. And that was why God was very happy with Solomon when Solomon asked for wisdom, because God knew that he would actually need that wisdom for that kind of a case, right? And he would need that wisdom to be able to rule his people, the Israelites. Like you said, it was the king of the Israelites. So, and we see that as well in God, that God is a just God, right? God will not punish, you may say, when Makima did something wrong, and vice versa. Okay? God is always just when it comes to judgment. Okay? And we have to be the same as well. So in James 1:5, it says that if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all. So here we see that God is a giver of wisdom. Just like Solomon asked, God gave him. And we can ask as well for wisdom from God, and God will give us. So wisdom is free for all, right? All we need to do is just ask God to give us. Quiz time. Question number 1. Who was Solomon's father? A, Abraham. B, Moses. C, David. How long did Solomon reign? A, 20 years. B, 40 years. C, 60 years. Number 3. What significant building project did Solomon undertake? Tower of Babel, the Pyramid, the Temple of Jerusalem. Number 4. How did Solomon identify the real mother in the judgment of the two women? A, by asking them to swear. B, by splitting the baby. C, by observing their reactions. Question number 5. What did Solomon request from God? A, wealth. B, wisdom. C, long life. Right. Why did God create you? To seek wisdom and use that wisdom to serve others. So we see in Proverbs 8, 1-10, which says that take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. So we must seek truth in everything that we do. Now, I've given some information there for us to consider what, more or less look at the definition that surrounds truth. So why do you even need wisdom? Remember that during in the text that we read, Solomon said something, that I am just a child and I don't know how to rule these people. So that was the reason why I asked for wisdom. Okay? So Solomon realized, even though he wasn't a child, he wasn't like 5 years old or 7 years old, he was a grown boy. I can't remember what age Solomon became king.
Maybe.
But
20.
he's definitely, maybe, older than you guys. So he wasn't a child, in the real sense of a child. But he saw himself as a child because he realized that for him to be able to be the king over thousands and thousands of Israelites, he needs wisdom to be able to rule over them. Okay? And when you realize that you need wisdom, that means you realize that you don't know a lot. Before we get to wisdom, we have to go through some other steps. First, you have to realize that you don't know as much as you think you know. That means we're ignorant of some things, and we have to be realistic and be honest with ourselves, right? And what is ignorance? The absence of truth. It means that the truth is there, but you're not just aware of it, right? So, for instance, a little child might not know that when you put something in the microwave and it's hot and you touch it, you're going to burn your hand, okay? The truth is there that when something is hot, it's going to burn you if you put your hands on it. But a little child will not know that because it's not yet experienced that when you touch something hot, it's going to burn your hand. So that truth is there, but it was just ignorance of it, okay? So that's the absence of truth. Like if you don't know that there's something called gravity, meaning if you fall, you go and climb somewhere and you jump down, you're going to fall down, right? If you don't understand the concept of gravity, you're going to hurt yourself. But if you go to space, right, the truth in space is you can float, right? But the truth on planet Earth is you cannot float, right? Bubbles can float, but humans cannot float. We understand what we're trying to say about ignorance, that something is there, but you don't know that something is there. Okay, does that make sense? Knowledge, right, is the accumulation of truths. What's accumulation, right? When you gather something, when you go to get information about something. When you go to school, what are you going to school to do?
Learn.
To learn. That process of learning is accumulation.
It's like learning math, it's like learning writing, it's like learning science, it's like learning art.
And what you're doing is that learning process, you're accumulating, knowledge. You're accumulating some truths that will help you in the future. Now, understanding is assimilation of those truths. Yeah, but assimilation is you actually know it. And if I wake you up in the morning, first thing in the morning, you can actually explain that truth to me. You can explain to me that if I go on an airplane, right, and I jump from the airplane and I don't have a parachute, I'm going to fall to the ground and hurt yourself. Yeah. Or if you put your hand in fire, you're going to get burnt, right? They don't have to explain it to you. You know that for a fact, right? Because you understand it. We're looking at equations yesterday, right? When you understand equations, then you'll be able to solve any mathematical problem, okay? That will be understanding, right? The first part is you're trying to accumulate, you're trying to learn, how equation works, what are variables and things like that. But when you understand it, you'll be able to apply that truth into anything. And this is where wisdom comes in, right? The application of what you've learned, okay? So you've learned maths, you've learned science. Now, what can you use it for? Can you use it to build cars?
No.
Fast cars? Yes, you can. When you have accumulated the truths, you've assimilated the truth, then you can build anything whatsoever. That becomes application of the truth. Okay, and this is where wisdom. That's the end goal. Okay.
So you need to understand something.
So even when you ask for God for wisdom, so let's go back to Solomon. Even when Solomon asked for God for wisdom, right? It doesn't mean Solomon didn't actually work to go and get that knowledge about things. Remember in the text that we read, they said that Solomon knew a lot about fishes, he knew a lot about animals, he knew a lot about birds. Did God just drop all of that information in his heart? No, he learned. He learned about them. He read about them. He studied them. Okay? So before you can get wisdom, there's a part you have to play as well. Even if you ask for wisdom, there's your part as well. And that part is where you have to go and learn something. You have to understand that thing. If you don't understand it, you learn again until you understand it. Then you can use it as a wisdom and apply it into something. The next point is to honor God. So Proverbs 8 says that those who get wisdom find life and receive favor from God. Okay, see the importance of wisdom. When you have wisdom, you find life and you receive favor from God. And we see that exactly that happening in Solomon's life. As soon as God gave him wisdom, right, he became very rich. And Solomon was one of the kings in Israel that never had any other countries wage war against him. Okay, his reign was very, very peaceful, and he reigned for 40 years. So his rule over Israel was very, very peaceful. Okay, so and God gave him a lot of wealth and riches and fame. So what is your purpose? Right, to ensure our lives glorify God in words, actions and thoughts. And we are to execute justice and truth. We see that in one of the first cases that Solomon judged between those two women. And for us to lead in wisdom. Okay, so when you have wisdom, people will come to you for answers. Okay, they will follow you and they will seek your advice. Okay, and we saw that even in the text that we read, that a lot of kings, a lot of kingdom sent their royalty, they sent their princes, their kings to go and see and hear the wisdom of Solomon. So they all went to Jerusalem to just go and sit down with Solomon and just listen to him talk. And everybody was just amazed. They were so surprised how knowledgeable, how wise Solomon was. Right? Because he could tell them about birds. Solomon wrote a lot of songs, about 1,005 songs.
What?
And the book of Proverbs, Solomon wrote everything in the book of... How did he do that? That's a good question.
Because he
got wisdom. Right? And he learned a lot of things, right? About a lot of things. So, people in the entire world, Solomon was like a celebrity, right? That everybody just wanted to go out. It's like British Got Talent, American Got Talent, whereby people would just sit down and they would just be amazed. Solomon would just open his mouth and talk about things. They would just be amazed that, where did he get this from? Right? That was how famous Solomon was. And we have to lead, right, in wisdom. So Solomon didn't only use his wisdom to wow, all the other nations, but he used it to judge and to rule over Israel. So again, we have to continuously learn and never stop learning. Okay? So for us to keep, becoming wise, we have to always, learn all the time. So in the Old Testament, the word wisdom is actually called, akma, which means great skill. So now, you cannot understand that having wisdom doesn't mean that God will just drop wisdom in your head and you just know something.
You need to learn things.
You need to actually learn that thing and be very good at it.
Until you get wisdom.
Learn it, understand it, until you get wisdom. Right? So the word wisdom actually in the Old Testament means great skill. Like you're very good at something. Right? Just like Olimito, you're very good at making anything out of Legos, right? And Olumaki. And Missy, very good at playing piano that, they can even teach Olumaki.
I know how to play piano too.
Okay. So that is a definition of, having a skill, a great skill. You understand it so much, right, that you can actually teach other people. Because if you don't understand something, you can't teach other people. Yes, Solimito.
Like me, I'm going back and know how to play chess, and I was teaching the Missy.
That is a good point. That is a good point, Olimito. Right? Now, the process of you going to chess, to learn chess, is what process out of the first process I said before. Right? It's the knowledge part. Before you start a chess club, you fall into the category of ignorance. You didn't know. Chess was there, but you didn't know how to play it. right?
But then
now we started going to chess club.
But then we were watching the chess videos on the laptop, and then we know how to play chess.
Yeah, because started going for to chess club. Now we started learning how to play chess properly, how to make moves. That is knowledge. Now we have to get to the point where you will know all the moves that you can make in chess, and you can beat a lot of people. You can beat grandmaster of chess, right? That will become, you having full understanding. You become the king of the champion of the world in chess, right? That will become grandmaster of chess. Then that will become definition of having wisdom in chess, and that going with this definition, that means you have great skill in chess. So quiz number 2: which famous queen visited Solomon to test his wisdom? A. King Saul. B. the Queen of Sheba. C. King Hiram. Number 7: which biblical book is traditionally attributed to Solomon? A. Genesis. B. Exodus. C. Proverbs. Question number 8: what significant visitation did Solomon experience at the beginning of his reign? A. visit from a prophet. B. visit from an angel. C. visit from God in a dream. Question number 9: what must you get before getting wisdom? A. silver and gold. B. knowledge and understanding. Question number 10: why was Solomon the richest man that ever lived? A. kings and queens visited and paid him just to hear him talk. B. he got his riches from fighting wars. C. his father gave him a lot of money. All right. So, financial principles. What financial principles can we learn? So we see that wisdom, which is the application of truth, meaning having a great skill, will eventually make you very rich. And the last question that was asked during the quiz was, how did Solomon become very rich? Right? Of course, apart from the fact that David, his father, being a king means that you have access to a lot of gold. So David must have given Solomon some gold, some silver, have a lot of resources. But Solomon become even wealthier because a lot of kings and queens paid tribute to Solomon, meaning they traveled thousands of miles on camels, right, and horses. They traveled with their entourage and went to Jerusalem just to listen to Solomon, just to get advice from Solomon. And when kings travel to go and meet other kings, when queens travel to go and meet other kings or queens, they don't go empty-handed. They go with a lot of gold, a lot of silver, a lot of expensive clothes, a lot of expensive things, right? And give it to that king they're going to visit. So you can imagine a lot of people went to visit Solomon just to get advice from him. So as a result of that, Solomon became very wealthy. Solomon used the wisdom that he has, right, to become very wealthy. And that was exactly what God told him, that because you've not asked for wealth and fame, and you've asked for wisdom, I will give you both fame and wealth. And God gave it to him. So it doesn't mean God, when God says he's gonna give you something, okay? God is not saying I will throw gold down from heaven. Right? That's not what God is saying. When God says he will give you something, right? God expects you to do your own part, to be able to receive that thing, right? God doesn't give things to lazy people. Do you understand that?
Yes.
When you pray to God for something, God will not, if you pray for God for an iPhone will not drop down from heaven. There is no iPhone in heaven. Yeah? iPhone will not drop from heaven. How would you get an iPhone if you need an iPhone?
By buying it?
Your parents would buy it for you.
Well, sometimes your parents will not even buy it for you because you don't deserve it.
Really?
Right? Or you're not even old enough to have a phone.
Really?
And even when you're old enough, what do you think you have to do to get an iPhone?
By working. Get money.
Working, making money to buy it for yourself. Okay? And
How
when
will
you
you
work,
work?
and when you how will you work?
Yeah.
You find out when you're old enough. Right? And working means that when you're working for somebody, it means that you have something that they want to pay you for. Right? You have something they want to pay you for. That's how you make money. Right? And if you have a lot of understanding in certain areas or certain things, you can sell the knowledge you have for a lot of money. For millions, for billions of dollars. That was how Solomon got rich. So that's how Solomon became very wealthy. So wisdom will help you to create new things that the world has never seen before. Right? When you have wisdom, you're going to think of ways of doing things that people have not done before. Right? Elon Musk, you know Elon Musk. You know Tesla. Have you seen the car Tesla before? The electric car. You must have seen it before. I probably have shown you before. You know, right?
Of course I know.
Okay. So Elon Musk is the guy. It has two main companies called Tesla. Tesla, they build electric cars, meaning that you don't have to go to gas station to go and put gas in your car for you to be able to drive around, right? All you need to do is charge your car, right? And there's battery in the car, and that battery will make your car, move from one place to the other. Okay? He's the first person that's done that, and it's very successful. Then he has another company called SpaceX. Okay, meaning he built his own spacecraft, space shape, right? And he's able to send the space shuttle into space, right? So he's been very successful in that. But one of the fascinating things he's done with his space company is in the past, when you send a space shuttle into space and that shuttle comes back to Earth, it usually gets destroyed. So there will be a capsule that humans will stay in, and the other part, right? So when you're kind of coming back to Earth, right, some of the parts.
That's not how it works.
How does it work?
You've got the whole, in the first place, you've got the whole rocket, and then sometimes they have the rocket that detaches off it, sometimes in space or when they're going up.
Okay.
So that means that, and then when they come back down, they've got the capsule that comes down, they've left the other thing, that's why they call it space junk.
Space junk, okay.
Yes.
So that means you're actually leaving junk in space.
Yes.
Right? Now, you said it, and I agree with you, okay, but you didn't let me finish. Now, the whole rocket that goes into space for Elon Musk's space company, SpaceX, comes back to Earth, right? It doesn't detach. The capsule, no capsule gets detached when the rocket is coming back to Earth, right? And when the rocket comes back to Earth, the rocket can actually land.
On a building or person?
Land on the ground in a specific place. Before, that has never been done before. Whereby you have the whole rocket come back from space to Earth, and it doesn't crash, it lands in a single point. meaning you're preserving the whole rocket and you can use it again, okay? Rather than leave junks in space, right? He's bringing the whole rocket back to Earth and landing the rocket in a particular spot every single time. That is wisdom. To be able to do that, it requires wisdom. And it requires a lot of people to put their minds together to be able to build something like that. You see why learning and learning and learning and learning is important. You have to continue to learn, to improve yourself, right? To improve the world around you, to build new technology, new innovations, right? To help the world around you. So that's the purpose of this. And if you can develop things that the world will use, that will help humanity, then you'll be filthy rich. You'll be filthy wealthy. So lastly, wisdom will help you live a healthy lifestyle, right? If you have wisdom, so wisdom will help you live a healthy lifestyle, right? As the saying goes, health is wealth, right? And how can you apply wisdom to live a healthy lifestyle? Let me see. How can you apply wisdom to live a healthy lifestyle?
By learning.
I'm asking Mr. first.
Reading
Speak
the Bible.
loud, please. I'm asking Mr. first. How can you apply wisdom to live a healthy lifestyle?
So you can learn things.
So that what?
You can learn things that can help you.
Yeah, explain.
I don't know. That's
You should
just
know.
it's generalizing stuff.
It's not generalizing. How can wisdom help you live a healthy lifestyle?
Oh my gosh! Like if you know that you shouldn't be eating too much sugar, and then wisdom helps you because then you know that you need to cut out sugar and start eating vegetables.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point, right? You need to know what you're putting into your body and how that thing is affecting your body. That's why we need wisdom in everything that we do. Just like you need to learn how to drive so that you don't go out there and crash into people. You also need to learn, right, about the food you're eating. How does it affect you? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? And if you know something is bad for you, what do you stop? You don't eat it. Okay? So that's the application of wisdom comes in there. And the reason why I put this there, that health is wealth, is you can only enjoy your life if you have a good health, right? If you're 24 hours just lying down in bed in the hospital, can you really enjoy your life? Huh? No. So that's very important. So in conclusion, we see how important wisdom is to our lives and the advice God has given us. And that is that wisdom is far better than gold. Okay, God was happy with Solomon because Solomon chose wisdom rather than wealth and fame. But guess what? He got the wealth and fame after all. He got wisdom. He asked for wisdom. He got the wisdom. And he got two additional things as well. Wealth and fame. But if he has asked for wealth, right? He would not have gotten wisdom. He could have gotten fame, but he would not have gotten wisdom. God wants us to chase after wisdom like our life depends on it. And in pursuit of wisdom, what do we have to do? If we want to get wisdom, what do we have to do?
We have to understand and learn. Understand.
Understanding. knowledge and understanding. Very, very important. Without wisdom, we cannot be a good judge, meaning we cannot be a good leader. So if you're going to be a good leader, you had better ask God to give you wisdom and work towards getting the knowledge and understanding you need to get that wisdom with the help of God. And lastly, wisdom means hard work. Okay, wisdom doesn't fall from heaven, just doesn't fall in your head overnight. You have to work hard at gaining understanding. You have to work hard at learning new things, getting knowledge. Yeah, it will take time for you to understand that knowledge that you've accumulated. And that's the end. Thank you very much.